This past summer, I completed the 75 Hard, and I want to tell you how it worked for me, why you might want to do it, and some things I learned along the way so that you can have an easier time than I did. I'm Kara from Health, Home, and Happiness. I'm so glad you're here. If you could like this video and subscribe to this channel if you found this useful, I would love it. For those of you that don't want to watch the whole video, I'm going to give you a quick, too long, didn't want to watch version right now. So the first thing is I lost 20 pounds doing the 75 Hard. I chose to do dirty keto on purpose. The whole premise of the program that you have to start over if you mess up made it really easy to stick to the keto diet for 75 days straight because I did not want to start this thing over. The biggest challenge was probably a toss-up between the time that it takes and the amount of water that you have to drink. I bribed myself every 10 days to keep going with pretty much any bribe that I wanted that wasn't off the program. The biggest takeaway that I got from 75 Hard is that my life is better without alcohol. The biggest contributor to my success was getting up and doing my first workout early in the morning. And that said, I am a morning person. I read a ton of books during 75 Hard. I listened to all of my podcasts. I listened to lots of audiobooks. All the music that I wanted. I was just blowing through tons of media because of all the exercise involved. And the hardest days for me were actually the last 5, which I totally did not see coming. So let's go into it a little bit more. So first of all, what is the 75 Hard program? It is a program by Andy Frisella. He also has a fantastic podcast. Fair warning right now, his podcast has lots of language, but he is just no nonsense, tells it like it is, and he's a really great guy. I really like it. His intention is good, even though the first time you listen to him, he might come across a little bit rough. He made the 75 Hard program a couple years ago. This is his book that goes with it. I always take the dust jackets off my books. I will outline all of this that I'm talking about and have some other stuff down below in a link to my blog where I have a whole article on 75 Hard, including the phases that we're not even going to get into right now. But this is his book. You can definitely do 75 Hard without buying anything. I also bought his app, which was great for keeping me on track. It's a super cheap app. So to go over 75 Hard, it's going to sound easy at first, but there are just a few rules. So the rule is that you have to do 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes each. One of them has to be outside, and that can't be in your garage. It has to be where you can look up and see the sky. You have to drink a full gallon of water every day. And that's hard. That's a lot of water. And it can't have anything added to it. So you can't use it to mix in your protein shakes. You can't use it to mix in, for coffee. You can't count coffee as your water. You can't do alcohol during the whole 75 days. You have to pick a diet and stick to it. I chose dirty keto, which means keto plus what I call junk food keto, which is protein bars and stuff like that. So not all whole foods keto. And then the last thing is you have to read 10 pages a day from a nonfiction book. And that has to be a book. It can be on the Kindle, but it can't be an audiobook. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks to kind of pass the time during the exercise. But I also had to read 10 pages, which for me is not a problem. So let's go into it one at a time. The workouts are 45 minutes each. They have to be separated by at least 2 hours. So you're not supposed to be doing 2 workouts back to back to get it all done at once. The best days that this was most easy for me is when I got them both done by noon. And so if I could go out and do a walk early in the morning and then do a workout inside right before lunchtime or around lunchtime when the kids were having lunch, that was most successful to me. For the water, when you start drinking that much water, when you drink a whole gallon of water, first of all, until you're used to this, try not to drink hardly any coffee or anything other than water. It's I found that the whole time I was obsessed with getting my water in. It was, if I felt even a twinge of being thirsty, I'd be oh good, I can go drink another half a bottle of water. Every night before I went to bed, I filled up 4 of these 1-liter containers of water. And I also bought a whole gallon container of water. A whole gallon water bottle, but I didn't really like that as much as the smaller containers that were more portable. And I made sure that I was at least had 2 of those done by noon. And I tried to be done. If I was finishing up my water right before I went to bed, I was not happy with life. But I did try to finish that before noon. Until you're used to it, try not to drink anything else because it's really hard to get all that water in. And if you start feeling it's called water toxicity actually. So you're cold, have trouble focusing, brain fog, feeling really tired, you need to take some salt. So the easiest way to do that fits on most diets is to drink pickle juice. And I like either homemade pickles that are lacto-fermented or Bubbies because they have those good probiotics as well as the salt. So you have to do that in addition to your water, yes, but you'll feel a lot better as your body transitions over into taking all of this water in every day. And that's a gallon every day for 75 days. Definitely hard. No alcohol. I think a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but I think this is what puts most people off from 75 hard. And this ended up being, which I'll go into in another video, prompting me to quit alcohol completely. Like, my life is definitely better without alcohol, but that is the rules of the program. Even if alcohol is allowed on the diet that you choose, you need to go the 75 days without alcohol to complete the program. Also, for that 75 days, you need to choose a diet and stick with it. I purposefully chose dirty keto, even though I know like carnivore or like whole foods keto would be better for me. I'm like, I need to give myself an out. So like when we're at a swim meet, when we're out of town, when we're just like life goes crazy, I can grab some of those bars and eat those. And part of this is because I am breastfeeding, so I can't fast. Because normally if I'm going to stick to a restricted diet, the easiest way for me to do that is to fast just when it's inconvenient to be on that diet, because I like fasting and it's fairly easy for me. But because I am breastfeeding, I didn't feel comfortable fasting because it does dump some toxins out that might go in your bloodstream to the baby, so I didn't do that. I'll talk in another video about breastfeeding on 75 hard, some kind of tips and tricks and stuff that worked for me with that. I know that everyone's different. But for the diet, going back to the diet, I chose dirty keto. You can choose whatever diet you want. And that's what I really like about this program is both the exercise and the diet, they're not super strict. So if the best that you can do is go for a walk 45 minutes twice a day or do some like really gentle yoga, then that's adaptable for you. The exercise. I ended up going for walks most days with the baby in the stroller. And then I did some indoor workouts. Like, there's just a ton of stuff on YouTube that's really easy to find. It's really just keeping it simple is kind of the best way to do things. There's no reason to overcomplicate things. And the same thing goes with the diet. Like, most of you know what diet you should be following, and probably anything that you choose is going to be better than what you're already doing. So having that loose kind of adaptable for your needs, your life, something that you can make sustainable for those 75 days is key. And then you can always do better. So I had lots of days that I did do carnivore, but because I had said I would just do dirty keto, if I had to fall back onto keto treats, I didn't have to start that 75 days all the way over. And then the last part of the program that's super enjoyable is, that I found super enjoyable at least, was reading 10 pages of nonfiction a day. And I chose to do that with like actual hard copies of books. I have a link down below to an article on 75 hard with different books that I read or recommend. And I chose to do it with physical books because I really prefer my children to see me reading actual paper books instead of always being on my phone. So that was just something that I chose to do. You can do it on your Kindle app, which is probably really helpful for those of you that are traveling. You're supposed to complete the whole book and move on before you start another one, and they're not supposed to be fiction or audiobooks. Since alcohol is not allowed on the program, I thought that this was a great time to learn about alcohol's effect on your body and recovery and your health and everything from an unbiased perspective. I think a lot of people shy away from this because we like alcohol as our crutch. We like it in the evenings. We don't want to give it up. We don't want to learn that it's not good for us. And so I listened to a lot of different podcasts, getting a lot of different opinions on it. This Naked Mind was definitely my favorite book on it, the most insightful. And I'll link to another article, and I'll do another video on alcohol related to your health and why most people are probably not going to want to hear this, but they would be better off quitting alcohol even if they're not alcoholics. The workouts definitely take up a lot of time. I found a couple things like just oddly frustrating during it, and that was it. Like, I didn't know when to shower. Like, I felt like as soon as I showered and dried off and like brushed my hair, it was time to go out and get sweaty again. So I got frustrated with that, and I ended up just taking like super quick showers. And it makes a lot of laundry because you have to like either change into workout clothes and get sweaty and then wash that. So there's a lot of laundry. I had a hard time keeping up with my housework. I do have 4 kids, single mom with 4 kids. And so that ultimately is why I didn't end up doing the phases afterwards. Like, I loved how I felt on 75 hard and I thought I was gonna want to do the phases. I've taken some parts of them, which I'll talk about in another video, and kind of woven that into my life as I can, but I'm not doing the strict, like, you have to do it perfectly or you have to go all the way back for the phases right now. The hardest days were actually the last 5 days, just like waiting for it to be over. And yes, we did have a party afterwards. My kids were all involved. We got an ice cream cake. We got like everything that I had kind of missed out on. And ultimately, I ate a little bit of junk for a few days and then I went right back on keto because I just feel so much better on it. And on keto, off of alcohol. So that was my 75 hard. That's the basic rules, kind of how you go about it. If you've tried the 75 hard, I would love to hear what you have to say about it. If you found that like your last 5 days were the hardest as well, or if you've been wanting to do it and haven't done it, what's your holdup? Like what could I maybe explain or help you come to a solution to so that you can also be successful with this? Thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Kara from Health, Home, and Happiness. I'm so glad you're here. Check out, I have a link to Andy's book down below and a link to more information on 75 hard about what worked for me and kind of day by day what I did. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.